It's all about the Benjamins.
Welcome to the Bringing You Home podcast. We're a group of mortgage professionals with no fame and no egos. We do, however, bring 55 plus years of combined mortgage experience and a strong desire to help everyone reach the American dream of a home ownership. All of this while having fun, keeping it simple, and most importantly, bringing you home.
Jennifer Velasco, episode 3. Did you hit another button?
No, it wasn't done.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Well, we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
Episode 3 of the Bring You Home podcast.
Is it episode 3?
Is it not?
I don't know.
I believe it is episode 3.
It
I
is
just
episode 3,
listened
right?
to episode 2.
You did. Thank you. Oh, looky here. We have a guest star in the
star.
in the WTF studios. And we have one of our wonderful operations managers, Mayra Magana, joining us today. And
That is the most applause I've ever received in my life.
It's a standing ovation.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm so happy to be in the Bringing You Home podcast, aka W2F Studios.
WTF studio. Yeah, this, we had a professional soccer player sitting in your
I mean,
your chair
it's
yesterday.
Oh my.
big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. You saw his shirt from when he just went. Anyways, anyhow,
Let's just say.
Mayra, why don't you? I'm excited to have you on the podcast. I know.
Wait, am I the first guest of the Bringing You Home podcast?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
are the first guest. Can you
I am
believe that?
honored. That's amazing. I'm
And-
glad you talked to me 20 minutes ago about coming on.
You're also probably the smartest person we've had on here since the beginning. That's
Well, I'm the first, so I better be.
well,
Smarter than us.
Jennifer and I were the
Put
first, but
together.
hey, what are you gonna do? But yeah, we're excited to have you on the podcast. We've been talking a little bit about why you should own a home, the benefits of owning a home, and we're excited to have you here to talk about this topic. We're going to talk about down payment, which I think is what many would consider the biggest barrier to home ownership. So, but before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and give us a little bio?
Sure. So thanks for having me again. Mayra Magana. I am the processing team lead of the West region of Ameritrust Home Mortgage. So I basically run our processing / operations department. I deal with our pipeline management, loan management, problem solving, making sure our underwriting and processing is done correctly, and things like that. So I deal with a lot every day. Every day is different. I love my job, so I'm happy to be here.
Well, I think you're being modest. I think, you're in the same office as Jennifer and I, and we are the 3 managers of this office, right?
Yes.
And, you work on the ops side. Jennifer, I still don't know what she does. But
Oh God.
she's Western region manager of something important. And I work on the sales side. So I get to work directly with you quite often. And
She also runs the branch.
well,
Let's
Okay.
just put that out there.
she does do a lot for this branch.
Yep.
But we work hand in hand every day to try to bring home ownership, right, to
Yeah.
our clients. And I think what you do is more important than what we do, because we, our loan officers, our sales staff, we bring everybody in, but really without you and your team, we wouldn't be able to close these loans. So
Right.
I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited for you to talk about some of the technical specifics of down payment.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be able to kind of
Let's get
bring a
into
different
it.
light that I can't. So, but Jennifer, before we start there, why don't we go to the fancy?
The market update.
The market update. So, today it's going to be pretty quick. Did you know that according to Fortune magazine, sellers in 97 of America's largest cities are slashing home prices? What does that mean, Jennifer?
It's a good time to buy a house.
It is a good time to house.
I'm like, what?
I caught you off guard, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It was a ninja trick because in the first attempt at this podcast, I asked Mayra. So Mayra, I'm going to go back to you.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means it's a buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market, right? Essentially, there's price reductions going on left and right. There's no bidding wars out there. And it is, as Jennifer said, a great time to buy. Buy. Don't be scared away by the rates. I know the rates are going up and continue to climb in the, obviously the opposite direction that we wanted to go. But as houses are coming down, those payments are remaining relatively the same. So, and we're going to tell you how you can leverage those price drops in today's market as we talk about down payment. So let's get to it, Mayra.
Yes.
Down payment. What's the typical down payment that you see from our clientele?
What they're bringing in. So
Yeah.
what down payment? So typically, if you're talking about a first-time home buyer, everybody thinks your down payment should be 5%, 10%, up to 20%. I mean, it really, that's what's kind of engraved into our minds is, you have to have a substantial down payment to make your home ownership dream possible.
Right. And most people, I think, believe that to be the case. However, there are a ton of products or programs out there that offer you grants, which would cover all, if not partial, down payment for you. In addition, the government sponsored program, FHA, only requires 3.5% down, which is much less than what
Very
we're
manageable.
talking about. Yeah. So if we were talking, we're going to go to this again.
Numbers.
If we're talking about a $500,000 loan at 3.5%, you'd be looking at about a $17,500 down payment, as opposed to a 5% conventional loan, which would require you. Can you do the math, Jen?
No.
25,000. That's why she's not in sales. So 25,000, 17,500. I mean, it's much less, right? The 17,500 is much less. But as I mentioned, the down payment assistance programs and the grants that are available will help offset that. And do you see a lot of our consumers utilizing down payment assistance?
I think definitely in this region, in the Southern California or California region at all, or California state, I should say, a lot of people are using down payment assistance programs, whether it's the grants, the silent seconds, gifts. There's programs that actually gift you money to buy a home. So it's really scary to think about saving all that money for down payment, but there are so many options available to buyers to be able to purchase a home. And it's just researching it and talking to professionals about it and really knowing, what's out there, because it's a scary number when you think, if I'm going to buy a $500,000 house, I have to come in with $50,000 or $25,000. That's a big number for a down payment. Right.
And, Jennifer, we've talked about you, setting that goal of that 6-month goal, not for marriage, but for home ownership. Right. And I'm going to continue to push you every podcast towards that direction. I think it's time for you to make that leap. But, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, let's say $500,000 house or condo, $17,500. Does that number scare you?
Yeah, I was about to say, like Mayra said, I think you get scared up front, right? It's a scary number. Like, there's no one in this planet that's just going to give you that money. So you have to think about it months in advance, like I am right now, of, okay, how will I reach that goal? Is that goal even attainable? And how do I prepare for it, really? And not only just for the down payment, but for everything else that comes with owning a home.
So what's like the first thing you think, your first step, right? If you said, hey, I'm going to buy a house in, I know we keep joking around 6 months, but let's say 1 year, 2 years, what's the first step you would do? What's the first thing you do?
Figuring out how much down payment I need, really.
Which would be a moving target because it's going to depend on the price, right?
Right, but I think just having a set number to know where to start, right? At least saving what? $17,000, right?
Or I would say really you have to think about what you can afford, right? Obviously, is making sure you know how much of a house you're able to buy, because that will set your down payment, right? So it's based on affordability, really. It's how much of a house you're wanting to buy, and then that way you can kind of work backwards as far as how much down payment's needed. I mean, and
But I
You'll-
also think just setting a number, so then even if you don't need to use all of it, or you don't have to use all of it, you can still have that money, right, for everything else that comes after.
And I think that's a great thing, right? Because you may not even need a down
All
payment,
of it, right.
Or any of it, right? I
Right.
mean, once you give us a call, right?
Yeah, give us a
or
call.
on your
Or-
comments, put your phone number and we'll give you a call and we can share with you whether you're even going to necessitate a down payment. Again, don't be scared by the fact that most people or most of what people learn or have heard about buying a home requires you to come in with money. That is true. You have to come in with money to pay a closing costs or a down payment, but there's so many programs out there that can help either cover all of those costs or partial costs. So, but I think you're on the right track, right? Start saving, set a goal, because you never know.
Right.
I think what's the first thing people buy when they buy a house? Mayra, you're a homeowner.
furniture,
Furniture,
appliances,
appliances, a Range Rover,
a car.
A dog.
Always.
What about a dog?
You need a car to be in that driveway.
right? You need a brand new shiny car to go with that brand new shiny paint and that brand new washer and dryer and new clothes and all that good stuff. So it just seems to be the case always, like never fails.
Is that the first thing you bought?
No,
I hope it wasn't a car.
What was the first thing that you bought?
I still drive the same car.
Okay.
Dang,
It's
yeah.
a good car. You got
I couldn't, I'm so old. I couldn't remember what the first thing is I bought, but
I can tell
Mayra?
you the first thing that I bought for my
Yeah.
house
what was that?
was a washer and dryer. Because if you rent, and you know a lot of
right.
your listeners rent
Mhm.
right now, is you have to use laundromats. Most apartments, some of them do now, but most when I was renting, don't come with the washer and dryer hookups.
Right.
So you have to use a laundromat, which was awful. So
I
the first
bet.
thing I bought was a washer and a dryer for my house.
I
And guess, and I got it on credit. So please don't do that if you're trying to buy a house.
buy it after.
Yeah, buy it after,
They have
please.
it already
Buy it after.
in
Yeah.
their garage.
Yes.
Ready to
Buy
go.
it after.
But I think the main point from all of this conversation we're having is got to do something.
Right.
Got to start somewhere, right? Give something up.
Give
Jennifer's
something up.
Jennifer's going to give up her daily happy hour habit, and
What, can I just
so that
limit
she
myself?
can, you can just limit yourself if you choose, or just have Mayra pay for it.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
they're sisters,
true.
right?
So limit yourself. And I
Limit
think
yourself.
second would be set a goal. I mean, it's
Set a goal,
it's
yeah.
so important to know exactly what it's going to take, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't know, we all know knowledge is power. If you don't know what it's going to take to buy a house or what kind of efforts need to be put forward, that you won't know where to start. So it's always good to start with your mortgage professionals. Please call us.
Yeah, and I think a good loan officer will be able to
Guide you.
guide you and just the first thing is to find out what programs are available to you and if you're going to need a down payment, and second, help you look at your credit and your income and really be we want to be financial advisors,
Right.
not just sell you a mortgage, right? So we want to get you to that, whether it be in a month, 6 months, a year. We want to be able to get you there. But I just did some quick math on my iPhone.
Yeah.
If you want to sponsor us. If I have 2 coffees a day.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Right? I have 2 coffees
What
a
are
day
they?
Starbucks.
at
$5?
Starbucks. $3.45
Oh, okay.
each one, right? So if
That's a lot.
I know, and it's scaring me right now because I just did the math.
You
but
did
if,
the math.
If I eliminated that from my daily routine, I could save almost $2,600
In how-
just Starbucks
in what?
in a year.
In
Oh
1
my
year.
In 1 year. First world problems.
So if you're having to do a $17,000
Dollar.
down payment on a house for 3.5%, you're $15,000 closer. So if you just eliminated a little bit
Starbucks.
more, I mean, now it's
Yeah.
$15,000.
And then
in a year.
if you imagine you eliminate that $20 lunch.
Right,
day,
every
right?
day.
I mean, so if you want to be a homeowner, there's ways of getting there and it's not that difficult. But more importantly, we talked about the market update and the slashing of prices and it being a buyer's market. It's a great time right now because if you can get into a home with no down payment, due to a grant, for example, and you could negotiate with the seller to pay all your costs. I mean, literally you can get into a house with zero. And we haven't seen that kind of market in a while. Right. And so, yes, prices are high, rates are high, but in the long run, you're going to continue to earn money. it's going to be a great investment for you. So, Mayra, just as a quick example, right? You are a homeowner. You bought a house with
I bought a
down
house with
payment
FHA financing.
And how did you get that down payment first?
Well, I did FHA financing.
Oh wait, and how long did it take you?
So my husband and I got married
if he's your husband, you did get married.
Yeah, my husband and I got married I'm going somewhere with this, in 2010, at the end of 2010. So I told my husband that we had to buy a house within 1 year.
Okay.
So we got married in October, and we were in escrow in December of 2011.
Okay.
So about a year.
Oh, yeah.
Took me about a year. That was my goal, and I'm very goal oriented. So if I set my mind to something, I try to execute. We bought a home using FHA financing and a down payment assistance program. So during that 1 year, we actually saved money for a down payment. But my thought process was, we are going to buy this house and then have no money. right? Because all our money is going to go into this down payment or savings. All our savings is going to go into this down payment. So I talked to a mortgage professional. They recommended this down payment assistance program. So at the time, I bought using a silent second.
Okay.
So that helped cover my down payment. So I was able to save that money that I had saved for the down payment for upgrades to the house, paint, carpet, changing toilets, just the kind of things that you do when you move into a house. So I didn't have to use all of my savings for that down payment.
And was it worth it? Do you think that was the best answer?
Absolutely. For that time. And I guess, and you guys talked about it too, in previous podcasts, it's just during that time, it's always what's available to you during that time. Right. So right now, obviously, houses are high. So it becomes a matter of affordability. So at that moment, I was able to afford this loan and then use it to leverage it and then refinance and use my equity and pay off that second. Yeah.
And do you think you still have some money in that? Some equity built
I have
up?
a little bit.
You have a little bit of equity?
Yeah, I have a little bit.
Yeah. So, that I guess we can segue really quick into different types of down payment, right? So now that you have a boatload, I was about to say something else, but now that you have a boatload of equity, you can also gift that money to Jennifer for her down payment because you're her favorite sister.
I could do that.
But you won't.
But you could.
Yeah.
But you could.
I could, but I won't, because Jennifer has a goal and she will save that money
There you go.
in 6 months.
I'm also very goal oriented, I might say myself.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that though. Gift. Can we do a gift? Again, let's put on your technical hat here. What are some of the issues with a gift, or what some of the things that they're looking for a gift?
Yeah. So your down payment can come, especially on an FHA, can come from a grant or a gift from a relative. Actually, that's the case for any agency loan. And, we talk about conforming, conventional, HUD insured loans. So your down payment can come from a gift. So if you have your parents that say, hey, Jennifer, I want to help you, I'm going to give you $10,000, which is wonderful. But with that comes a little bit of sourcing. So we talk about down payment and we talk about people saving money for a down payment, but we also have to talk about, it goes hand in hand with sourcing those funds, right? So we have to make sure that that money is in a bank account somewhere. It's not under your mattress, in a safe, in cash, cold cash. So we don't want to see any of those deposits and things like that. It has to be sourced. It has to be from a viable source, right? Paychecks.
And what happens if it is like a deposited, like $10,000?
Well, technically, if you had a cash deposit, we wouldn't be able to use those funds for sourcing for a down payment, right? Unless you're doing a cash business, and you can get very technical into it, right? But if I work for a paycheck, if I'm working at wherever at the mall, you don't expect me to have $15,000 in cash lying around somewhere, you know?
And that doesn't mean that we don't trust our borrowers, right? Or it doesn't mean that the government doesn't trust your borrowers or investors. That's just, really, that's just a way to ensure that money's not laundered. Right. That's plain and simple. And that there's no money laundering going around, or there's some complicit uses of this illegal cash. So I think the best way to do that is to, again, talk to your mortgage professional and let that mortgage professional help you through that. Typically it takes, from the time you get pre-approved or pre-qualified to you buy a house, it's a couple of months, which would give you enough time to source, to season that, those funds, or for your loan officer to help you or lead the way so that, and give you advice as to how to do that. But But that's interesting because I think a lot of people think they could just walk in with cash, right? I think, funny story, a long time ago, I had a client who said they were in the adult entertainment industry
Okay.
and a lot of cash on hand. And they wanted to photocopy the money because they got so upset that I said, I can't use your cash. I said, and they're like, I'll photocopy it and I'll source it that way. And I'm like, come on, man, you can't be doing that kind
So
of
it
stuff.
has to be seasoned.
It has to be
fun.
seasoned in the bank. I mean, it was creative, right? But and people are,
It is very creative.
yeah. I'm not going to tell you how I got the client though, but
I don't want to know.
the funniest part, I mean, now with crypto, Mayra, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. Zelle's a different ballgame. Venmo's a different ballgame. I mean, it's all just, there's just so many different sources of funds and money that it's hard, right? And it's hard and it just takes a little bit of extra work.
And I think too, it comes with that, now that there's so many ways to get money or transfer money or do all these things, like you have to think about the laws and regulations are not keeping up with the times, right? So technology is moving us forward so much faster than our rules and our regulations are moving in that direction, right? So I'm sure in 2 or 3 years we'll be like, hey, yeah, you can sell anybody, right? And we'll accept it. But at this moment right now, rules and regulations and guidelines are not keeping up with the times, right? So sourcing your funds and making sure that they're seasoned. And when we say seasoned, it's usually in the bank for 60 days. So
it's not, and it really is not that big of a deal as long as we get ahead of it, right?
Right.
That's all we want to do.
Again, goes back to setting a goal and a plan
and achieving it, right? Yeah. Mayra, you and I are kind of old hats, right? Me much older than yours, but
a little bit, yeah.
I'd like to I'd like to hear from Jennifer what she thought. I mean, what she thinks after hearing all this talk about down payment. And are you scared? Are you worried? Do you feel like it's a daunting task now, or?
It is a little scary because, like I mentioned before, no one's just going to hand you this cash. So you do really have to put in an effort into saving money. And, especially now in this economy, everything's so expensive. So sometimes it gets a little bit harder to save that money, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it does when it's like, groceries now cost me $140.
What was costing $60 before.
Yeah. So it's like, I can't save
eat at the dollar menu.
Cash. And that's for groceries.
But I mean, we talked about the sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sacrifices and you have to buckle down and just really, think about your future. And then using that real estate as leverage. I mean, honestly, your down payment's going to go into a house and you're going to have somewhere.
Right.
Look, at the end of the day,
I was going to say, sorry
go ahead.
to interrupt you, but that reminds me of like when my mom used to be like, there's food at the house. So now I'm like, there's food at the house. I need to stop eating out. Sorry, funny. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, anything that you want to attain or you want to do, it always takes work.
Always.
And it's the things that are, Jennifer and I were in here for a podcast yesterday for another podcast. And the guy was talking about anything it's a professional athlete. And he's talking about how anything that's worth it is going to take struggle, time, effort. You got to work hard for it.
Yeah.
And that makes it more worth it.
And if it was easy, anyone would do it.
Correct.
Right.
And I think if you're willing to put in the struggle for your family, right, then it'll all be worth it.
Yes. Definitely.
And if you have to sacrifice a little bit, maybe don't buy those, Air
Jordan shoes.
Yeah, those Air Jordan Dunks or whatever. I don't know. I wear Vans, but don't spend the money on that. And little by little, little by little, save.
And education. I mean, really, there's just so many programs, so many things you can do. Just educating yourself and making sure you talk to the right people to put a plan into motion.
Right? Yeah, and on that note, if you go to your local neighborhood housing center, they have so much information on how to save, budget, and all that stuff. That's not just important for home ownership, but it's important in the in the long run, just in life, right?
Life, yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like you give stuff up in order to get that down payment, and then you're like, I'm not going to be able to buy anything when I get this house, and it's amazing how everything just works out.
Yeah,
and you're able to make your payment every month. And as mortgage professionals and financial advisors, we're never going to put you in a position where we think you're not going to be able to make that payment. So stop having Starbucks, stop buying those Air Jordans, save some money, stop the happy hours, Jen,
The
And-
$20 lunches.
right,
pack
the
a lunch.
$20 lunches.
Yeah.
Stop all of that, save some money, and you know, I think the future can be bright for you and your family, and who knows, sooner rather than later you can be having Christmas in your own home.
Oh, that's
Right.
nice.
That's a good one. That's
We're
a
almost
good
at Christmas
We're
time.
almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. I saw the pumpkin patches. Anyhow, Mayra, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to have you back. You have so much knowledge and
We really
that you can
do.
share. I know we go to you for everything. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us today on our little rinky dink podcast.
Love it. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me. I
Jennifer,
appreciate it.
you're still here.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
be here next week too.
Guys, oh, we forgot.
Oh,
Office
Oh,
update.
office updates.
What's your office update?
I'm gonna give this one to Mayra for this week.
Oh, office update. Let's
Any
see.
office update? You run the office.
I-
You pretty much run everything.
I am the
in
mother
here.
hen. The office update.
Yeah.
Do we have anything to share? We had a wonderful branch meeting today with lots of stuff. That was lots of good tips on, getting out into the market. We have a new LO in our office,
Yeah.
Christy. So we were happy to welcome her.
Yep.
And that's our office update.
The only thing I do have to say is I'm glad the AC hasn't gone out.
It is 107
Yeah.
outside.
Because I would not be able to survive.
And
nice
somebody
in here.
left cottage cheese on the fridge for a couple hours and then ate it. But okay. Anyhow,
That
thank
is
you
so
everybody.
sweet.
Please go to our TikTok, our Instagram, or I'll let Jennifer give
At
you all that
Bringing You Home
stuff
podcast.
at Bringing You Home podcast. And we look forward to having you hear and view our next episode as we continue on this journey to home ownership.
Thank you all for tuning in. Glad we were able to provide you with some useful information while bringing a little joy to your lives. Like, subscribe, and share on all social media platforms. We want to interact with you by answering your questions and having you as part of the community. We look forward to bringing you home.